Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about a recent study that says that playing video games has an unexpected effect on kids' IQ. Alright, welcome back. So this study has come out here. Now, for those who play video games, this is pretty obvious for a lot of people, but it's not obvious for everyone. It says, researchers have linked spending more time playing video games to a boost of intelligence in children here. Now, I would argue it's the type of video game that would have the greatest effect here, but it seems like it is just kind of average video games here. Now, there's a lot of things that go on when you play video games. Now, of course, just like anything, you can play too much of it here. And it depends on what kind of video games you're playing here. So there's a couple of things that I really like about the study. So first, it says there's a different cognitive abilities was small, but it is enough to show the causal relationship. It's enough to be notable, okay? They also did socioeconomic background. They decided to take that into effect, and that's really important because a lot of times, for example, music has been shown again and again to help increase kids' grades and all that stuff here, like if you take music lessons and whatnot. However, they found out that while that's true, it's not as pronounced as it used to be. And the reason why is that if you can afford music lessons, chances are you're already smarter than the people who can't afford music lessons, because music lessons are kind of expensive, right? This is a really big factor that you always have to take into account here. And they also mentioned that watching TV and social media doesn't seem to have a positive or negative effect. That's interesting, because I would argue that social media has a negative effect, right? And that's just from my personal, but it seems like in this particular study, it says that it's not. So maybe it's not as bad as people think it is. But personally, I don't think it's very good here. And they also mentioned it was kids 9 to 10 here. They're not talking about like 5-year-olds or whatever, right? And what's interesting is that they've said an increase of 2.5 IQ points. That's significant here. Well, I've noticed this over the years. There's a couple things that we need to take into account. One is the type of video game. And two is what are the negative effects, okay? So first of all, there's the type of video game that you play here. And some of the games, even a game like Call of Duty, actually has been shown to have some positive effects here. The problem with video games is that you're sitting doing nothing, right? You're sedentary. Now, if you are sitting for 5 hours a day playing video games, eating nothing but junk food and drinking like pop or soda or whatever, that's not good, right? That's definitely not good for you, right? And that's where I think the negative effects is. If you're playing too much of it and you're sitting down here. Now, when I play video games, I try to do all my work, and at the end of the day, I kind of have like a breather. I play some video games, and then I go to sleep here. I try to get up and walk around here, and I try to do something else, like if I'm playing a team game where I have to wait in the lobby here, like, I might play my guitar or something just to kind of practice here or do some push-ups, right? Things like that, that you can do if you're waiting for a team game here. But so even games like a Call of Duty still have an effect here. But I would argue the best kind of games you can be playing are games where you're kind of building, like the Sim City games. A game like Civilization is really good because not only that, you're learning about history. There's a lot of games out there that would be really good for you. Now, it's really interesting, and it's not really that surprising because a lot of games require strategy. And I'm going to use a really good example of StarCraft here. And I know it's kind of an older example, but I remember there was an article saying that playing StarCraft 2 helped someone with some brain damage. I couldn't find the article, but I found this Reddit post, and I know this is anecdotal, but it kind of sums everything up here. Basically, this person had an atrophying brain, and it stopped thanks to playing StarCraft here. And if you don't know what StarCraft is, you have to manage your workers to get resources to build an army to take out the other person here. And that's really interesting. Now, when was this posted here? This was 10 years ago. Okay, yeah. And then this person got MRI, and apparently their brain has returned to full size. I couldn't find the article, but it might have been based off of even this Reddit post here. But nevertheless, I do know that this has been studied a little bit more. And at the same time, a game like StarCraft where you're constantly strategizing, in fact, it's called a real-time strategy game. Time is moving forward and you're doing things in real time. Hence, real-time strategy game. So this is not too surprising for a lot of people. Now, again, what are kind of the worst games here? Now, I noticed this since a lot of the stuff that I used to do was in the mobile space. Games like Farmville, those games, and again, that's really old, I understand. But like games that use some kind of time mechanic, and games that force you to kind of come back, like those casual games, aren't very good. And you should probably not get your kid to play those kind of games here. And you want to play games that require a strategy of some kind. And even Call of Duty or Overwatch, they require strategy. You need to get together as a team, or you need to kind of hide out somewhere. That is strategy, right? And the only thing that you need to be very cognizant of when you're playing video games is that you shouldn't be sitting for too long, and you should try and exercise. And especially if you're eating junk food, that's not very good for you. Like, it's just not very good for you. So 2.5 IQ points, it's not 25 IQ points, because 25 IQ points is like, you know, going from an average person to being, well, not genius level, but like well above average. But, you know, 2.5 is, you know, it will raise your test scores, right? So the other thing, there's things that you can do in life that will help, that have studies behind it, that will raise your IQ. And it looks like video games is now one of them, right? So video games, exercising is another one. You know, going for a run or a bike ride. I bike to work every morning, and it's uphill both ways because my house and my office are at the same elevation. There's a big hill in the middle. It's actually quite good, and I do it first thing in the morning. And, you know, for me personally, I think that's really good. So exercising, video games, eating right, music is another one. So if you want to pick up an instrument and get really good at it, that's another one. So if you do those 4 things, right? So if you do those 4 things, you could, in theory, you know, move up your IQ 2.5 to almost maybe even 10, right? If all those things are, you know, give you 2.5 increase. But let's say it's like a maybe 5 increase. That's really significant. And you will, if you do that, you will, it's not only the fact that you are, you know, getting smarter, you're actually going to be making better decisions, right? And by doing those things, you're going to be making better decisions in your life. Now, the last thing that isn't in this article is that if playing video games increases your IQ, I would argue that building video games is even better, because you have to, it just takes so much more cognitive power to build a video game than it does to actually play them. Now, I'm not saying that you should stop playing video games, but if you start building them, I've noticed this personally, when I started building them, I started to, you know, kind of just make better decisions. There hasn't been any studies about that where kids have been building video games versus playing video games, but it makes sense. It's so much harder to code and do all the things that are required of video games, because video games are actually quite a creative discipline here. You can do everything technically, and we end up being a terrible game, right? There's a creative element to video games here, and I would argue that if you build video games, you'll actually start to see an improvement in your life, right? And that brings me to this video as well. Sponsor. It's basically, if you want to learn to code, build video games, this is a huge bundle, and it's on sale from $500 all the way to $98.99 here. It is an amazing opportunity here. There are so many levels here, and one of the levels is, believe it or not, game development here. So level 5 is game development here. But this bundle shows you how to code, and it takes anyone from being a complete beginner to being very competent at coding. So we have web development, app development, we have machine learning, blockchain, game development, interview prep, and you also get the previous Hello Codings here. This is the 4th iteration of Hello Coding, and you get it here. We have some amazing reviews here, and you can see that we've had a lot of success here. So as you can see, this is absolutely amazing here. It's on sale today, 450 hours of content. So this is the best bundle you will ever buy here. And if you want to basically make a new change in your life, learning to code is the best way to do it. So that concludes this video. I want to know your comments down below. Does video games help? Have you noticed the difference of playing video games? Have you done the other things like eating right, exercise, music? Have you noticed a difference in your life if you started those tasks? Please let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.